everybody, it's Ben and Tim here to start off a new series called Tech Tuesdays because
I'm tech
and I'm not tech, but it's Tuesday. Well, Tuesday when you're watching this, and we're here to be of the people, for the people.
Or we're here to answer internet questions that people post on our Facebook all the time that seems to be a common occurrence. So we're just going to take the most popular ones and kind of give a bit of an answer.
That's the same thing as being of the people.
Sure. Well, so you want to read the first one or you want me to read it?
Well, you know what? You go for it. Let's go for the first question. Okay. I know, big time.
So this is from, was that Grumps, 1986?
Yeah, it looks like it's from YouTube as well.
That's neat. I like the good YouTube stuff every once in a while. This says... interested in putting the system on my Buick-powered C10? The answer is yeah, you could do that. We may not have a distributor to fit that application depending on the engine. It was something we may develop in the future, but if you got a 4150 flange and you're getting 255 liters per hour of fuel at 43.5 PSI, yeah, you can make it work.
Yeah,
that's not really a big deal. I mean, it meters the fuel into it. You program it to do a thing, and it's going to run the motor. It doesn't necessarily care so much what's underneath of it. As long as it bounces to the engine via the flange, you should be pretty dialed in.
Mm-hmm. So when people call in and ask, every single time in customer service, people ask, "I have a blank, blank, blank.
Mm-hmm.
Will it work with my blank, blank, blank? And what system would you recommend?" What? In my understanding is, people who call in about that, most things or most setups will work as long as if they're working with an intake that has a 4150 style flange, or they can adapt to it. That's going to work with the kill shot or the Royal Flush system. If you're looking for a 2-barrel, that's a 2300 flange style.
That's an
intake.
old Holly flange. Everybody. If you got a 2-barrel, it's mostly going to be that. There's a few other variants, but it's just like your most common flanges. 4150/4160 or 2300 flange is like the most stuff that we cover.
Sure.
Or if you got a spread bore, ours is dual drilled, but there's you may end up with a vacuum leak if you don't use an adapter. A few weird things like that. But yeah, it's not really too biased at the engine underneath as long as it supports the horsepower range your engine's built at and can mount to the top without vacuum leaks. You're pretty well set.
Sure. What about people who are looking to do multi-port injection units or LS swaps? What do we have that's going to work with their system?
Well, like the jackpot, for instance, for LS stuff?
Exactly.
Does 58x4, does 28... No, it's 24. It's 24 by 1. I get that switched around. It's 24 by 1, 58x by 4. That's generally what you're looking for, but it doesn't do DOD or AFM. It doesn't do VVT.
Right.
It doesn't like LS4 applications because the cam sensor's in a funny spot and it's a little bit different of an LS motor. But outside of that, it doesn't do LT motors, the modern ones.
Right.
But yeah, your most common LS stuff, as long as it's cam swapped and doesn't have any of those other features, it's just pretty well dialed in. It does electronic throttle body or drive-by cable. It does trans control or not, just depending on which system you buy.
Cool. So in essence, if you're going to do a TBI setup or wildcard setup, you need, or not wildcard, I said wildcards.
Wildcard's a good one. That's
multi-port injection unit.
Multiport.
You need a good ignition system, and you need a good fuel delivery system. Now, at least with our multi-port injection systems, they're going to come with the ignition system already included.
Yeah.
But whether it's our TBI systems or other port injection units, they need a good fuel delivery system and a good ignition system to go with the EFI.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah, for throttle body applications, you can use a variety of aftermarket ignition systems or factory, really depending on how you're hooking it up. Some things are not meant for aftermarket fuel injection. Pertronics is a good one.
Oh,
for instance.
exactly.
There's a few different Pertronics distributors and coil setups that is totally fine with EFI. And then there's a whole other mess of them that they make fine products that's affordable. You end up with that's more of a carbureted application, and it's a really hokey hookup that may damage our ECU in the long run. So that's anybody's ECU. But that's just a thing.
Cool. Awesome. Sweet. Let's move on to the next question. Question 2. This is from Travis Kundal from Facebook. I watched a review on YouTube where a guy claimed you didn't need a fuel return line. Wondering if that is true.
Yeah, that's true.
Why is that true?
Oh, there's the question.
I know. See? Wow.
So, you can get fuel to your engine a whole bunch of different ways.
Mm-hmm.
You can do it return style regulator, where the fuel comes from the tank through a filter, through the pump, through another filter, to the unit, to a regulator, and then return. And it's regulated the pressure at the regulator.
And we actually recommend that.
I like it.
I think it runs the most efficiently I've ever seen the system run.
Yeah. Well, you're not dealing with the weight of the fuel so much as the injector's pulse, and there's a whole bunch of real techie stuff about that we could probably get into in another video. But you can run a return style like that, which I enjoy. Or you can run bypass return, depending on how clean the underside of your hood you want it to look. If you just want to sneak in one fuel line in there without a whole lot of extra stuff going on, you can do that. So it actually returns through the regulator on bypass return. So if fuel comes from the tank, gravity fed to the pump, to the regulator, returns from the regulator back to the tank, and then it goes on the other side on the output, it goes up to the throttle body unit. And it's regulated that way.
Yeah.
Then you have, that's a semi-returnless style. It's still technically returned, but it's fine.
Right.
Then you have people using Corvette regulators.
Okay.
So there'll be an in-tank pump, and it comes out of the tank into the Corvette-style regulator, which puts out about 58 psi of fuel.
Okay.
It returns from the filter regulator back to the tank, and then it goes out to the unit at 58 pounds. You just have to make sure to change the injector rated pressure when you go from 43.5 or 300 kPa to the 58 psi, which is about 400 kPa. You have to make sure to make that change because it'll affect the injector pulse width and the fueling and the learning and all that stuff associated with how ours learns and works.
Awesome.
And then we have an intake module that is a return style, which it's in the tank, it comes out, goes through a regulator, comes back to the tank, that's fine. And then we have, like we don't have, people make, wait, maybe I should say that, the fuel pump, strainer, and regulator is all in the tank. So it's pre-regulated inside the tank to send out one fuel line up to the unit itself at 58 pounds. Okay. You just have to make sure to change that injector pulse, injector pressure rating.
Sure.
It's not really, I mean, there's 4 or 5 different ways to hook it up.
Yeah. But they all, in theory, can work.
No, not in theory. I mean, I do that stuff out in the parking lot.
Let's go.
But
perfect. You've heard it here first, or second, or third. It was second.
You hear, but then I work on stuff in the parking lot sometimes.
Well, that was everybody knew that. Sure.
Yeah. So you can run a pre-regulated, non-return style fuel system with our stuff, and that is the LS-based stuff, or the Multiport stuff, or the throttle body stuff. It's fine as long as you're getting 43.5 psi or 58 psi to it, and telling it exactly how much pressure you got, so it can, compensate the injection pulse width just right.
Exactly.
Not a massive deal.
Nope.
Not really. It's pretty normal hot rod stuff, but I know we get this question a lot.
A lot.
Question 3. Is that the one that comes with the jackpot?
Try again. Here we go.
No, and I'm going to try again. Is that the one that comes with the jackpot, referring to the 5-inch handheld? Yep, that's a big thing.
That's
Steve least from Facebook.
Yeah, Steve Sherrod says, is that the one that comes with the jackpot? So now we're offering both our 5-inch handheld and 7-inch handheld in our kit.
Oh, yeah.
And so it can be a little bit confusing what comes with what. For the time being, in order to get a 7-inch handheld included in your kit, it has to be a fabricated top-end kit or a regular top-end kit for the Jackpot Pro system. Or I also believe that the Jackpot drive-by-wire and trans control system will also come with a 7-inch handheld right now. The rest do not.
Really like the 7-inch for a lot of nerd reasons. But it has a dash function, so you can push and hit a button and have your normal screen that's all cool and red, and then you have another one that has more of a gauge layout. So if you're going to mount it in your cluster, that's cool.
You can see
and
that.
Right now they're coming with a amp, so a GPS antenna amp that'll mount external of your car, but also have another repeater that comes into the car that strengthens the GPS signal. So if you mount it inside of like my '55 Chevy, for instance, where everything's made of thick steel, then you're not really going to have a good source of GPS signal because it's going to be trying to go through a whole car.
So in other words, the 7-inch handheld doesn't just work on the Jackpot LS system; it works with
all of them,
all of the systems, and you can upgrade to a 7-inch handheld for I believe, if you haven't used your 5-inch handheld already, you can send it back and trade it in for a $200 credit off of that new 7-inch handheld.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll be doing a thing on the 7-inch handhelds here soon, probably in one of our horrible vehicles we have here. They're all race cars. We don't have show cars. We just got race cars that are all rusty and sketchy and awesome.
That's the best part. Exactly.
I like it.
I see no problems.
I don't know. The 86 is pretty swanky.
Number 4. So what does it display, referring to the handheld, and what would make this unit stand out from the rest of them? So our competitors make a wide variety of handheld units for their systems. Why is ours so special, or not even just special? This is a really good question by Eric McDowell. But what do we put into our systems that makes it different than the rest?
Well, they're cooler.
I agree.
No, we have the ability for expansion down the road for being able to do customizable dashes, which a lot of folks do. And I'm sure this is just referring to the displays. But just the availability of them themselves, the price point's a lot lower.
Yeah.
You know, when we start expanding off into different CAN modules and stuff like that, we'll just display more information on the screen.
Exactly.
Like we can take our dashes right now if we really wanted to, if we had time to R&D it, and make it a standalone dash if we really wanted to. We could develop a CAN module and do a thing and have a whole standalone dash. That's fine. Yeah. But it's not going to be the twice the money or more to do the same thing on the same size screen from another brand. And you know, we just have that flexibility because we can still develop things now that fits even our older model stuff.
Sure.
So, you know, our screens, we use a very specific proprietary CAN encoding, so it's not going to work with everybody else's system.
Sure. But whose does? I mean, honestly, if they're optimized to work the best with the brand that they come from. Right?
Yeah, because it's the same language, essentially.
Cool.
So yeah, that's kind of a broad spectrum question, really, because our stuff works with ours really nicely. You know, we're expanding and advancing. We're going to have a different breed of 5-inch handheld at some point, which I don't know if you're privy to that yet. It's more of a my department thing, isn't it?
It's a little bit more techy than the customer service area.
So yeah, it's, you know, with our 5-inch, where we left so much expandability in the actual hardware itself, we can snap our fingers and make it a dash if we wanted to. Yeah. Just like with a 7-inch, if we wanted to make it a standalone, we could just go run off and develop that, and it'll be fine. But it works. They work with all of our systems. The handhelds, we don't have to, like, if I want to take one handheld 5-inch or 7-inch and go and run it on a different system,
all you have to do is
I just plug it in and tell it what it is.
Exactly.
It's too easy.
That's really cool.
So I like that a lot. Yeah. And the price point's killer.
Yeah. That's huge. I mean, by comparison.
So what does it display?
How? Number 5.
Are we on 5 already?
We are on 5. I kid you not.
Oh my god, dude. That's crazy. How can you install this one with dual exhaust? I'm debating on getting this for a boat. But not sure if you can run an O2 on one bank or if you offer a dual kit. That's Jaden Brown, 1587, on the YouTubes.
On the YouTubes. Now, he's referring to a kill shot here, which only comes with one O2 sensor. However, we do have other kits that come with 2 O2 sensors, but one of the big things that he's talking about here is installing it on a boat. So there's a lot to cover here.
Yeah, you're right.
But let's start with the one O2 sensor for the kill shot. Is that possible? Can it only just run on one O2 sensor?
Yeah.
Exactly. Why?
Because it only comes with one.
Why? Why not come with two?
Well, because you're putting the fuel at the top of the motor above the intake.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no way to really, other than the airflow through the intake and through the throttle body, the fuel should be floating around and going to each individual cylinder relatively the same. So if you're taking a reading from the passenger side pipe or the driver's side pipe, pending any mechanical deficiencies in your engine, you're going to be reading roughly the same value.
Yeah.
So with that, one O2 sensor is fine. On a boat is fine.
In theory.
So it's fine on a boat. Boats tune differently though. That's the thing.
That is true.
Most of the exhaust systems, depending on where you can put that O2 sensor at, whether it's in water, in a wet exhaust system or what have you not, or if it's just in some big old hater pipes.
Sure.
Which most lakes have weirdly cut down on that. I've gotten a bit of trouble for that one recently.
Really?
No, last year. Anywho. So with boat stuff, you want to be a little bit more tuner savvy with that, because you're going to run into a thing where, you're going to have to get all the fuel values you want, put in the table appropriately so all your wideband stuff, all your air-fuel ratios are pretty dialed in, then remove the O2 sensor out of the system and leave it in open loop. It's an open loop tune because boats, unlike vehicles, boats essentially act like they're on a water brake dyno the entire time.
Yeah.
So whenever you get that thing and you throw it in gear, it loads up to the top of the map, or in our case, maybe the bottom of the map. But it loads up to the top of the map, and it thinks it's under maximum load the whole time. So as soon as you start to get into it, it's not going to go like idle and then cruise and then wide open. It's going to go, People that do performance boat knows this already, and they know that most of the time when you buy the system, unless they're just now getting into performance stuff with boats, most of them know that you can use the O2 sensor for a limited amount of time while tuning the boat. You can leave it in there, but the failure rate's so much higher.
Right.
That's a bit of a thing. That's why if I'm tuning a boat, I'll do the whole thing. I'll set it up. I'll figure out a way to sample my exhaust gases, and there's some interesting ways to do it too, might I add. But most boats you can get an adapter for it and put your O2 sensor in there and do a thing and get your tune set and then adjust accordingly in the laptop and then just leave it alone and then go enjoy your boat.
Yeah.
Boat stuff's a little more finicky.
Yeah.
But
just a little bit.
Yeah, he can do that just fine on that or what have you not, because it's just, you're going to sample it for a while and do a thing. Maybe they'll leave it in there and force it into open loop. But multi-port stuff. All of our systems, by the way, will run with a single O2 sensor if you select one O2 sensor. Yeah. The rest of them, where we actually, instead of just doing bank to bank, we do like a sequential injection on our multi-port stuff and our LS stuff. So it's actually adjusting the injectors from bank to bank, and that's why it needs two.
Right.
Now, if you do just one, like in the driver's side pipe, you're going to run into, it's going to make a fuel correction, but make a fuel correction to the entire engine, not just the 4 cylinders that it's looking at.
Right.
So,
So you can do it on a boat.
You can do it on a boat.
You can run it with one O2 sensor and be just fine.
Yeah.
Simple as that. Too easy.
You can run it with no O2 sensors if you really want to.
I won't recommend
that. It's not going to have any self-tuning. You're going to have a fuel map you'll have to manipulate a little bit.
Oh, man. Would not recommend.
Ooh.
Do not recommend.
Ooh, look at this one. I like this one.
That is a fantastic question.
Is there an update to
run E85 fuel?
E85.
Corn-fed, baby. I got to be careful there. There's probably some trademarks there.
There actually is, I think.
Really?
Somebody has a Project Corn Fed out
there.
It's not even what I was doing. It's somebody else that's actually famous. So there's like a whole thing about that.
You can trademark corn. I guess. I mean,
Paris Hilton trademarked hot. I think it was, or some stupid word like that. I don't know. That's hot.
No way.
That was my generation. That's nothing to do with you youngins.
Yeah, my generation doesn't know a lot about
anything,
any laws. Well, let's hold off there. There's some of them watching this video.
They'll be fine.
So yeah, can it run with E85?
I've done it. personally done it.
It's
Going to
a
do
video.
it. I'm going to do it next week, as a matter of fact, on our Rustang project.
Mm-hmm.
If we're stealing project names, we might as well steal every one of them.
Exactly.
We just need a Datsun. Call it something else.
Oh man, you're too far.
Supercharged Jaguar, maybe we get one of those. Call it something else.
How about that? But it will. The answer is yes. Now you do have to tune for it accordingly. Just like running boost on our systems, totally possible. Blow through, draw through, it's possible. You got to tune for it.
That is just the facts. So with the E85, so you get a gasoline storage value.
Yeah.
Right? It's, I don't know, 14.7 to 1. So.
All of you math nerds out there.
Math. So it's a ratio. X amount of air, X amount of fuel, 14.7 to 1. That's gasoline from like the 70s. Now, then there's modern pump gas, which is E10, E20. That's going to be more like 14.3 to 1. That's why I like to set my target AFR to about 13.5 or 13.8. It's a little bit more correct with our pump gas as compared to what gasoline is.
Okay. What happens if people need larger injectors to run E85?
Well, that means you're really pushing it. So ours our kill shot, for instance, is what one I tuned. Got 100 pound an hour injectors in it, right?
Absolutely.
Gasoline, like 800 horsepower. Got to push some pressure, not a big deal. We have a customer to tune for that. When it comes to that, you're really looking at brake specific horsepower of fuel. Because, E85, it takes roughly 27 to 30% more, physically more fuel to make the same type deal. So what you run into is the stoichiometric value for E85 is like 11.8 to 1 versus our pump gas is 14.3 to 1. And alcohol is like 8 or 7 or something like that to 1. All that stuff. But you just have to make sure to get all the values correct, because it does take more fuel to physically do that. So it's about 27 to 30% more fuel. So in the fuel map in our tuning, you can go in there, you can just highlight the whole table and throw about 30% more fuel at it, and it'll make it pretty happy. And then you go to your target AFR and you take about 30%-ish out. Just make sure you can just target everything to 11.8 to 1. And then, adjust accordingly to get your tune dialed in. There is another secret way of doing it in our tuning software. I haven't perfected the method just yet, but there's a coefficient value, kind of like a bit of a multiplier for the fuel stuff that you can go in there and adjust. And it's a bit of a process. 100 pound an hour injectors, right? Say you're doing 100 pound an hour injectors in ours. You're going to run out of fuel capability at about 550 air miles, because our thing will support 650. So about 550 thereabouts, you'll kind of need more injector at that point. And in the future, we'll probably have a whole E85 setup that'll already come with 160 pound an hour injectors, which will more than support 650 horsepower on our throttle bodies.
With the E85.
Yeah, with the 85. Also, the extra ticket to that is you may have to run it at a slightly higher pressure. Kind of a thing. Not a big deal. I mean, it's just tuning.
Not too bad. If you have questions about our system, we pulled these from YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all over social medias. But from now on, or at least for now, if you have a question, if you have a concern, if you want to ask us anything about our systems, just go ahead and leave a comment down below. We'll be happy to either reach out to you if we can, or you might be featured in the next Tech Tuesday video.
Yeah, especially if you want a big old shout out.
Yep, something
as
like
it goes. That happens too.
Shout out from Tim.
Shout out.
Not for me. Nobody cares to be shout out by a customer service representative.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like, comment, or subscribe if you haven't already. And be on the lookout for future Tech Tuesday videos with me and Tim.
Yeah, we'll do this all the time if you want, but preferably on Tuesdays.
Preferably on Tuesdays.
Mondays are hectic.
Is Tech Tuesday a trademark thing?
A lot of people do Tech Tuesdays. Like a lot of folks.